Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our webinar today. For many of you that joined us last week, this is somewhat of a continuation and a similar topic to last week. Today, we're joined by Dr. Madan Kundu from Southern Illinois University, Dr. Randall Bowen, also from Southern Illinois, and Dr. Wu. Um, to mention, there will be a live question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So please put your questions in the Q&A box. If you happen to have technical issues, you can put that in the chat box. That helps. If you happen to mix it up, don't worry. We'll figure it out and get back to you. But at the end of the presentation, Dr. Kundu and Dr. Bowen will handle the live Q&A. Dr. Wu was unable to join us today for that part of it. Again, for those of you that may have been on last week's presentation, again, thank you for participating in that. You would have seen a discussion and a background on Dr. Allo. She is also the principal investigator for this particular aspect of the project as well. And so you will see some additional and a repeat of some of the information you heard last week. But just to let you know that Dr. Allo had been the principal investigator for the project discussed last week and for the project that will be discussed this week. A couple of things. Well, also just to let you know, I'm Terry Donovan with Stout Vocational Rehabilitation Institute, and I am joined by Beth Gertner, my colleague. Beth will be managing and helping with the Q&A and chat, and I will be doing general hosting duties. Some of you may be familiar with both Beth and I from earlier webinars. A piece to let you know, we also offer CRC credits for all of our webinars. For this particular webinar, and actually for the webinar last week, the CRC credit is not yet available. There is a process that CRCC has for getting approval for webinars, and we just haven't gotten the final okay for the CRC credit for last week's webinar and for this week's webinar. We expect that to be available in the next few weeks. So for those of you that attended last week and are looking for a CRC credit and who are on this for this week, Beth will be putting information in the chat box about how you can obtain that CRC credit when it does become available. I'll read it, but Beth is also posting it, that you can go to our Project E3 website. And I'll note, it takes you to our archived webcast page where we have lots, I can't remember our last count, but a number of very, very good archived webcasts, all of which are also eligible for one CRC credit. So please take advantage of those archived webcasts as well. They go back to 2018 and then 2019 and 2020. Many, many wonderful topics, great information by our presenters on the range of interests and needs that we have heard during the Project E3 project from VR agencies and other rehabilitation professionals. Let you know this session is recorded, and for both the entire recording of the presentation as well as the question and answer. And again, that will be available. It can take anywhere from 7 to 10 days to get it posted for those of you that maybe are looking for it tomorrow. Part of that has to do with the captioning. We like to make certain that the caption lines up with the recording. Again, for those individuals that need the captioning or prefer to use the captioning, we want to make sure that everything lines up. The captioning service that we use also provides us with a finished transcript of the entire recording, and we like to be able to match that up as well to make certain that the webinars are accessible in all aspects. With that, I will go ahead and start. The particular presentation was recorded ahead of time. We find that can be beneficial. So we will run the presentation. It runs about 55 to 60 minutes. And at the conclusion of that, we will start the live Q&A. So again, if you have questions as you're watching the webinar, please put those in the Q&A. Other issues that may come up, use chat. I will note individuals are raising their hands. If you have a question, it would be better if you put it in chat. We currently have, as many of you can see, about 274 individuals, and often we may get closer to 300 or over 300. it's difficult for us that are managing the webinar to sort through all the participants to find the hand. It doesn't automatically go to the top of the list. So if you have a question, it would be better to put it in chat if you could do that. So thanks very much, everybody. Please enjoy the presentation, and we will, as they say, see you on the other side.
Hello, welcome to the webinar. Today's presentation is on evaluating career self-efficacy of African American college students with disabilities, a factor analytic approach. This presentation is based on one of the outcomes of the project CLAIM. CLAIM stands for Cooperative Learning and Individualized Mentoring to build self-efficacy, persistence, and goal attainment in post-secondary African American students with disabilities, a mixed method approach. This presentation is made possible with support from a field-initiated research project at the Department of Rehabilitation and Disability Studies, Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The project was funded by the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Washington, D.C. The ideas, opinions, and conclusions expressed in this presentation are those of the presenters. They do not represent recommendations, endorsement, or the policies of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Resources. We want to express our sincere appreciation to Ms. Shelley Reeves, Project Officer of National Institute of Disability and Independent Living Rehabilitation Research, for her guidance and support in implementing the project in the midst of COVID-19. As the chair of the department, Dr. Allodata approached me to write a proposal utilizing CLAIM pedagogy for our African American students with disabilities. I asked her what CLAIM pedagogy is and will it work for our racial ethnic minority students with disabilities. She already studied about it. I had to do research, this pedagogy. So we developed the proposal entitled Project CLAIM and received funding from the NIDLR. We owe our gratitude to Dr. Allodata, who was the sensitivity, vision, and creativity and worked diligently to develop the proposal and receiving funding. Unfortunately, our passionate researcher, Dr. Allodata, died on June 29, 2018, after battling cancer for 2 years. Please allow me to say a few words about her dedication to the field of rehabilitation. She was an outstanding researcher, prolific grant writer, and a visionary leader in vocational rehabilitation. She served as principal investigator, project director of 11 training, research, capacity building, and technical assistance center grants. Also served as co-principal investigator or associate project director for 9 other grants. We jointly secured funding of $31 million. She was guest reviewer of 10 rehabilitation journals, published 50 referred journal articles, made 80 presentations, and recipient of 15 awards and recognitions. Dr. Datta was an excellent teacher and taught research methods and statistics. She used to hold extra classes on Fridays for those who need extra help in statistics and research methodology. She was student focused. We wrote training grants to receive scholarship that will allow our economically disadvantaged students to study and earn a degree to move ahead in their lives. She was a team player. We collaborated in writing grants, research, publication. She was very quiet in nature, smart, creative, diligent, productive, reliable, and very dedicated. She was my student and a colleague. I am blessed that I had the opportunity to work with her. Dr. Data will have a special place in our students' and colleagues' hearts as she touched many lives. Recognizing her contributions and dedication to rehabilitation, the National Council on Rehabilitation Education has established the Dr. Allodata Memorial Scholarship Fund. The scholarship annually recognizes an outstanding doctoral dissertation in the country. So Dr. Jiarang Wu, our presenter, was the second recipient of this award in 2020. Recently, Dr. Data was recognized posthumously by the National Association of Rehabilitation Research and Technical Assistance Center with a Commendation Award for her contribution to the field of rehabilitation. We pray that her soul rest in peace with Him, the Almighty. The project outcomes have significant implications for people with disabilities of racial, ethnic minority backgrounds, especially for the most vulnerable, economically disadvantaged, and who live in rural and remote locations. I want to express our gratitude to Dr. Fong Chen, methodologist, University of Wisconsin-Madison, for his guidance throughout the proposal development and implementation of the project. Today, three of us will make this presentation. I am Dr. Madan Kundu, who serves as chair and professor of the Department of Rehabilitation and Disability Studies at Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Dr. Jiarang Wu, assistant professor in the Department of Rehabilitation Counseling at the Northeastern Illinois University, Chicago. And Dr. Randall Bowen, assistant professor, Department of Rehabilitation and Disability Studies, Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Let's talk about the outline, the statement of the problem. The project's claim primary focus is to enhance transition of African American college students with disabilities to the world of work. So gainful employment is crucial to people with physiological survival, mental health well-being, and with or without disabilities. It provides both tangible and intangible rewards people who are employed. A job with benefits, promotion opportunities, social connection is a primary source of life satisfaction. Advantageous and essential to the well-being of the workers, their families, and the communities. However, unemployment, poverty, income inequality are significant causes of human suffering among people with or without disabilities. Unemployment increases the risk of poverty and contributes to income inequality. Psychosocial consequences of poverty and unemployment lead to depression, anxiety for food insecurity, medical, transportation, and childcare, leads to domestic violence, or even alcohol and drug abuse. People with lower income reports poor health and higher risk for illness and injury, a significant reasons for health disparities among racial ethnic minority groups. US Department of Labor However, even the record of low unemployment and hiring managers reporting a high demand for workers. US employers are still not hiring large numbers of people with disabilities to meet their needs. According to the US Department of Labor, the employment rate between people with and without disabilities is notoriously disproportionate. 20.9% versus 68.6%. This pattern is also highlighted among young adults with disabilities. The labor force participation among 16 to 19 years of age group with and without disabilities are 25.8% versus 42.1%. Whereas young adults with disabilities from 20 to 24 years of age were engaged in the labor market in contrast to their without disabilities are 40.6% versus 75.2%. Demand on employment research indicates that employers are more willing to hire people from disadvantaged backgrounds when the demand is high and qualified worker supply is low. Helping young adults with disabilities, especially from racial minority backgrounds, pursue post-secondary education in demand occupation, for example, science, technology, medicine, and business, will increase their chances of finding sustainable employment. Now look at the unemployment rates and earnings by education level. There is a positive association between higher education and lifetime earnings. A high school graduates on average earn $1.2 million in lifetime income. Bachelor's degree holder on average can expect to earn $2.1 million over a lifetime. People with master's degree earn about $2.5 million, and according to the US Census, people with a 4-year college degree earn almost $1 million more in lifetime earnings than those with high school degree. People with doctoral degree earns an average $3.4 million. Professional degrees, those with MD, JD, that means Doctor of Medicine, Juris Doctor, law degree, engineering and other higher tech, earn an average $4.4 million in lifetime earnings. Please pay attention to this word, an average. That means some earn less and other makes more than an average. See, the data from current population survey by the US Department of Labor Statistics 2019 that you see in the screen, the data represent persons who are 25 or older, full-time and salaried workers. From the graph, it is clear that the higher the education, the lower the unemployment rate. So who is most affected during this economic recession or downturn economy or natural calamity or pandemics like COVID-19? The people who are less educated. In the continually changing world of work, influenced by information highway and technology, to live a better life in the 21st century, we all need to have multiple skills. That means degree and expertise and diversified knowledge to survive. Now look at another graph here, that synthetic work lives earning for gender, race, ethnicity group by education level. Now look at the impact of gender and race on this lifetime earning and education level. Compare the earnings in rank order. Pay attention to the white male, then Asian male, other male, black male, and Hispanic male. And look at the females. Asian female, white female, other female, black female, and Hispanic female. So, what you can see that at the level of earnings by females in general and the impact of glass ceilings in male-dominated society. The Asian male and female are doing better. The position of black male and female and position of Hispanic male and female. So they are in the bottom of the rung. This graph shows the difference in lifetime earnings by gender, race, ethnicity, and education level. But if we add another variable, disability, that will be a very dismal picture. Now, high school completion and graduation rate. Only 1/3 of the students with disabilities who enrolled in a 4-year college or university graduated within 8 years. That means they take longer because they face a lot of barriers. Moreover, the graduation rate for African American college students is 42%, significantly lower than the rate of white Americans, 62%. College life and the accompanying transition process may pose unique challenges to African American with disabilities or any other minority groups. So what are those barriers that we can try to eliminate to enhance their education level and earning levels? College life and the accompanying transition process may pose unique challenges to African with disabilities. For example, a more significant number of African American college students are first generation and come from lower socioeconomic background, which may influence the family support and pose challenges to students' academic performance. Challenges such as this may further elevate stress levels of African American college students with disabilities, making them more vulnerable to depression and dropping out of college. Let us talk about career self-efficacy of social cognitive career theory. What we can do to improve the career self-efficacy of minority students with disabilities to improve their education level and career enhancement. Social cognitive career theory is an extension of Albert Bandura's 1986 General Social Cognitive Theory. It is one of the most central career developmental theories. It is one of the most central career development theories developed to explain how people form vocational interests, set career goals, and build self-efficacy. Let us look at the flowchart here. Bandura postulated that triadic reciprocity model could explain human behavior. An individual's behavior is determined by personal factors, that is here predisposition, gender, race, ethnicity, disability, or health status. And behavior and the social and physical environment. So that is the background contextual affordances, where they live. Do they live in a city or urban areas, semi-urban, villages, or remote areas? So all these personal characteristics, those are the permanent characteristics of the person, and the physical and social environment they live, they interact, and as a result determine their background learning experience. The Lewins's topological theory of the 1940s postulated that B equals function of P and E. That means the behavior is a function of the person and the environment. That means the contextual factors in which the individual interacts. That leads to 4 types of background learning experiences. Number 1, performance accomplishment. Number 2, vicarious learning. Number 3, social persuasion. And number 4, physiological arousal leads to the development of self-efficacy for a given behavior or domains of action. So self-efficacy influences one's career choice, level of academic performance, outcome expectancy, and goal persistence. Cardoso et al. Used the social cognitive career theory to study women and underrepresented minority students' decision to pursue STEM disciplines. That means science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. Self-efficacy is the belief in the ability to succeed and achieve competency. As outlined in the social cognitive career theory, self-efficacy and outcome expectancy are significant predictor of goal persistence in science, technology majors, especially for women and minority students, or any other fields or any other populations. So career self-efficacy is a dynamic interaction of motivation and self-regulation within a complex environmental context. Career self-efficacy encompasses proactive responses to the pursuit of educational and career opportunities. Students with strongly perceived career self-efficacy are more likely to persist. Students with strong perceived career self-efficacy are more likely to persist when encountering obstacles toward college retention and career development. Career self-efficacy promotes career outcome expectancy, which means individual beliefs regarding college completion and educational accomplishment are linked to career development. Now, research has demonstrated that persons with high levels of career self-efficacy have higher self-initiated job searches, promoting employment goals, and increased goal persistence. Conversely, low perceived career self-efficacy was significantly associated with lower job performance and higher training dropouts rates. Research also demonstrated that self-efficacy and outcome expectations are essential mediators between learning experiences and academic persistence and career development. Students' course self-efficacy, that is confidence in achieving course successfully, has positive association with their self-determination, locus of control, hope, which leads to successful academic adjustment and goal persistence. Previous research has attempted to explore the career decision self-efficacy of African American students, focusing solely on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics career, leading to questions of generalizability of results. Austin 2010 demonstrated that social and economic status had significant influence on career decision self-efficacy. African American college students with disabilities experience at least one or a combination of multiple disadvantages and continue to underrepresented in the career development literature. Consequently, there's a paucity of knowledge regarding the career development of African American college students with disabilities. So additional studies are needed to improve the understanding of college students with disabilities from racial minority backgrounds. So the purpose of the study, the enhancement of career self-efficacy and other psychological factors promotes improved adaptation to college life, academic persistence, college retention, graduation rate, employment preparation, and career development. As a result, there is a need to develop and validate social cognitive career theory measures for use by rehabilitation counselor, accommodation specialists, and career counselors with minority students with disability. So the purpose of the present study was to evaluate psychometric properties of the career self-efficacy scale in a sample of African American college students with disabilities to improve the process and experience of career assessment and planning. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Jiarang Wu to make presentation on research methodology and results. Dr. Wu.
So in the following section, I will be talking about the methodology and results section. So in this study, we analyzed responses from 380 African American college students with disability. Participants were recruited from a historical Black college and university in a southern state. As you can see from the screen, this table provides detailed information regarding demographic characteristics and disability information of participants in this present study. The sample include 118 males and 262 females. 250 participants were freshmen, 90 were sophomores, 27 were juniors, 13 were seniors. Disability status was assessed using the current population survey. It is a 6-question disability measure, including hearing difficulty, vision difficulty, cognitive difficulty, mobility difficulty, self-care difficulty, and independent living difficulties. Respondents were endorsed any one of the 6 item types were considered to have a disability. The main purpose of the current study is to validate the career self-efficacy scale. In this slide, I'm going to introduce the career self-efficacy scale and the scales that we use as external validation, which are the goal persistence and the outcome expectation scales. The career self-efficacy scales was adapted from the life skills inventory vocational competency scale. The original life skill inventory was developed by Dr. Chen and his colleagues in 2003 to assess essential life skills for assertive community living and work. The life skill inventory vocational competency scale exclude the assertive community living items from the life skill inventory. Then they have 15 items with 2 subscales. First, job performance self-efficacy. It is 11 items, item example including I know how to maintain regular work attendance on the job, and I know how to maintain good personal hygiene at work. The job-seeking self-efficacy scale includes 4 items. I know my skill and ability and how they related to the job I'm interested in. I know how to talk about my skills and ability in a job interview. So each item is rated on a 5-point Likert rating scale, ranging from 0 to 4. 0 means I cannot do it. 4 indicate I can do very well. So the internal consistency reliability coefficient, which is the comba alpha, was 0.93 for the job performance self-efficacy and then 0.80 for the job seeking self-efficacy. The goal persistence scale was adapted from the Lenton and colleagues in 2005 the goal persistency scale for science and technology majors. Participants rate their level of agreement from 1 to 5 for 8 statements about their academic plan. For example, I will complete my college degree. 1 means strongly disagree. 5 indicates strongly agree. Len and colleagues study in 2003 and 2004 report that the goal persistence measure has an excellent estimates with the Cromba alpha of 0.93 to 0.95 respectively. Their findings also show goal persistency is positively correlated to academic self-efficacy. In addition, their study also found the goal persistency scale useful in predicting college completion in engineering majors. In this present study, the Cromba alpha was computed to be 0.82. So the career outcome expectancy was used by the vocational outcome expectancy scale. This scale assesses outcome expectancy related to obtaining, retaining employment with 2 subscales. One is positive outcome expectancy related to work. It's 6 items. And the next one is negative outcome expectancy scales, 5 items. In this study, we only use positive outcome expectancy scales. Basically, the participants were asked to rate their level of agreement on a 5-point Likert type scale, ranging from 1 to 5. 1 means strongly disagree, to 5 indicates strongly agree. Item example including completing my vocational rehabilitation program will likely allow me to have a job with good pay and benefits. The Cromba alpha for the positive outcome expectancy subscales was reported to be 0.79. In the present study, the Cromba alpha for the positive outcome expectancy scale was computed to be 0.90. Data analysis. Descriptive statistics and exploratory factor analysis were computed using the statistical package for the social science SPSS version 22. Confirmatory factor analysis CFA was computed using SPSS MOS version 22 as well. EFA is a common statistical technique for examining measurement structure of clinical assessment instruments. It used to evaluate the measurement structure of the career self-efficacy scale in this present study. In addition, CFA was used to confirm the measurement structure obtained from EFA. So in the next slide, I will be talking about the results. The correlation matrix of the career self-efficacy was subjected to principal component analysis. We wanted to identify the latent factors that could be operationalized as instrument subscales. The Kaiser-Meyer-Oakland KMO resulted in a sampling adequacy of 0.91. KMO value greater than 0.8 indicates that the sampling is adequate for factor analysis. The bullet test of severity was significant, indicating that correlation in this data set were appropriate for factor analysis. The Kaiser-Gottman's eigenvalue greater than 1 criteria and Cautel square plot test indicate a 3-factor structure for the career self-efficacy scale. So the 3-factor solution was rotated using the Appelman rotation to enhance interpretation of factors. The final solution accounted for 66.85% of the total variance. All items loading significantly onto their respective factors, loading ranging from 0.49 to 0.89. Although there is no black and white cutoff point for the factor loading, generally we consider factor loadings greater than 0.4 to be representable. So in this table, the 3 factors were labeled as job performance efficacy, job seeking efficacy, and emotional efficacy. So factor A, job performance efficacy. It consists of 5 items. Items in this factor reflect job performance efficacy. As you can see from the slide, items including I know how to get along with supervisor, and I know how to maintain regular work attendance on the job. All items load significantly onto this factor, ranging from 0.66 to 0.89. The Cromba alpha was computed to be 0.91, indicating very high reliability of items constituting this factor. The mean rating for this factor was 17.17. Standard deviation is 3.89, higher than the average job seeking efficacy and the emotional efficacy. Factor B, job seeking self-efficacy. It consists of 5 items. Items in this factor reflect job seeking efficacy. Item example including I know how to prepare for jobs that is of interest to me. I know how to talk about my skills and abilities in a job interview. All items load significantly onto this factor, ranging from 0.49 to 0.87. The Cromba alpha coefficient was computed to be 0.82, indicating high reliability of items constituting this factor. The mean rating for this factor was 14.08. The standard deviation is 4.62. Factor C, emotional efficacy. It consists of 5 items. Items in this factor reflect emotional efficacy. Item example including I know how to manage my emotions on the job. I know how to accept criticism from supervisor. All items load significantly onto this factor, ranging from 0.56 to 0.86. The Cromba alpha coefficient was computed to be 0.83, indicating high reliability of the items constituting this factor. The mean rating for this factor was 16.21. Standard deviation is 4.18. A confirmatory factor analysis was conducted to verify the 3-factor measurement structure of the career self-efficacy scale. We use Amos 22 version to estimate how well the data fit to the model. We use 3 goodness of fit indices. CFI, the comparative fit index. TLI is Turkel-Lewis index. And the RANSI, the root mean square error of approximation. As you can see in this slide, the first estimation will yield a marginal model fit. You can see that the CFI is 0.90, which in the indices, it should be greater than 0.95. The TLI is 0.88, lower than 0.95. The RANSI is 0.092. It's greater than 0.08. So we do some modification. In the reviewing the modification index, we found a couple error terms should be correct. We found 3 pairs of error terms modification, and then we revise it. It's a stepwise fashion, yield a better model fit with the CFI is 0.95, TLI 0.938, The RANSI is 0.067. Although the TLI is still less than 0.95, it's much improved from the previous model. Now I want to talk about the modification that we made. So item 10, I know how to maintain good person hygiene at work. And item 8, I know how to become a team player. Another modification we made is I know how to maintain good personal hygiene at work versus I know when to seek help at work when needed. The third modification we made is I know how to prepare a cover letter and resume. With item 4, I know how to talk about my skills and ability in a job interview. Knowing the residual of the item 10 helps in knowing the residual association with item 8, item 13. These two pair items share something in common. The correlation error terms between item 3 and item 4 also indicate that if a person knows how to prepare a cover letter and resume, the person may also know how to talk about his or her skills, ability in a job interview. The CFA results indicate that 3-factor measurement structure of the career self-efficacy skills fit the data very well. In addition, the factor loadings for the 3 factors are relatively high, ranging from 0.70 to 0.89 for the job performance efficacy factor, from 0.53 to 0.77 for the job seeking efficacy factor, and from 0.52 to 0.73 for the emotional efficacy factor, as you can see from the screen. The 3 latent variables were significantly related to each other, with the job performance efficacy to job seeking efficacy is 0.57 and 0.55 between job seeking efficacy and emotional efficacy, and then 0.85 between job performance efficacy to emotional efficacy. In this slide, you can see the correlation matrix of the job performance self-efficacy, job seeking efficacy, emotional efficacy, goal persistency, and career outcome expectancy. The job performance efficacy is significantly associated with the goal persistence and the career outcome expectancy. Job seeking efficacy also significantly associated with the goal persistency and career outcome expectancy. Emotional efficacy is significantly related to goal persistency, but not to the career outcome expectancy. The 3 factors also related to each other, which I already mentioned in previous slides. The job performance efficacy is significantly associated with the job seeking efficacy and emotional efficacy. The job seeking efficacy and emotional efficacy are also significantly correlated to each other. So in the next section, I will hand the presentation to Dr. Randall Bone.
In this section, I will talk about discussions and implications of the study. Gainful employment benefits people with and without disabilities, psychologically and physiologically. Empirical evidence has supported education, including college and vocational technical training, as one of the best career pathways for people with disabilities to the middle class. An increasing rate of transition-age youth with disabilities attend higher education after completing standard diplomas and academic qualifications. An established effort is needed to address college retention and initiating a pathway for career success for students with disabilities, with increased attention to students from racial minority backgrounds. Career self-efficacy is a powerful concept, and it's been noted as one of the essential domain-specific self-efficacy applications. Researchers and educators have been incorporating career self-efficacy as an effective way to assist high school students and college students in STEM fields. However, there's a plethora of empirical research validating the career self-efficacy measure as a tool for evaluating career preparation in African American college students with disabilities. Career self-efficacy is associated with academic and work performance and goal persistence. Therefore, rehabilitation professionals and educators must promote career self-efficacy when working with students with disabilities, especially students from ethnic backgrounds. Integrating career self-efficacy into formal education and rehabilitation counseling interventions can prepare students with disabilities from minority backgrounds to develop robust and accurate career self-efficacy, including job performance self-efficacy, job seeking efficacy, and emotional self-efficacy with goal persistence and outcome expectancy. Assessing career self-efficacy among African American college students with disabilities is a practice that should be adopted by educators, accommodation specialists, and rehabilitation counselors. To customize formal education, tailor the bridge from education to career development, and promote a smooth transition from college education to the job market. Findings from the current study also emphasize the interplay among personal, environmental, behavioral influences on career choice and interest development. To further assess the successful career development of African American college students with disabilities, course designs can incorporate the primary source of self-efficacy. For example, performance accomplishments, which are generally viewed as the most significant influence of self-efficacy, could be addressed by setting and achieving sub-goals. Rehabilitation counselors and educators can assist African American college students with disabilities by breaking down larger goals and establishing sub-goals, along with specific plans to reach each step. Increased exposure to the career by visiting companies of interest or observing guest speakers with similar backgrounds may be another tool to providing vicarious learning, modeling, and opportunities for African American students with disabilities to envision job possibilities and career values. When addressing emotional self-efficacy, rehabilitation professionals could implement relaxation techniques and assess with early preparation and exposure to the career development process to ease anxiety. Identifying what motivates students to learn and promote positive behavioral strategies is also crucial for educators and rehabilitation professionals when working with African American college students with disabilities. Disability support professionals should work closely with professors to create opportunities for students to have positive experiences with education to increase students' confidence in their ability to excel academically and socially. Positive experiences may include hands-on activities in the classroom or community, interviewing expert in a topic area to foster curiosity and mental engagement, or extend learning outside the school to develop a more substantial knowledge base. College success and lifetime learning can be the natural reinforcement for learning. Therefore, it is essential to integrate the course objectives with real-world applications and students' career goals to increase the course's perceived value. Several factors must be considered when interpreting the results of the current study. First of all, the use of the U.S. Census Bureau Current Population Survey 6 disability category questions did not allow specific disabilities to be identified, and as a result, they were not reported. Besides, the sample was not sufficiently large enough to allow EFA in confirmatory factor analysis, CFA, to be completed with separate groups of participants. Instead, both the EFA and CFA were computed using the same sample of students. Lastly, African American students with disabilities were recruited from one HBCU in a southern state, which impacts the study's generalizability. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA, of 2014 and the accompanying amendments of the Rehabilitation Act place a strong emphasis on post-secondary education and competitive employment for transition-age youth with disabilities. Specifically, state vocational rehabilitation, VR, agencies are mandated to allow 15% of their budgets to strengthen their capacity to focus on local labor market analysis, employer engagement, job-driven training, post-secondary education, and competitive employment for transition-age youth. If the above provisions are appropriately implemented, meaningful careers and economic career self-efficacy approach is validated as a useful tool for career development in higher education. Rehabilitation and disability researchers have evaluated the effect of career self-efficacy on goal persistence, employment, and lifelong outcomes for students with disabilities, focusing on students from racial and ethnic minority backgrounds. Developing an appreciation and mastery of career self-efficacy as a career development tool could significantly increase graduation rates for African American college students with disabilities, increasing opportunities for satisfying jobs and economic self-sufficiency, not to mention the benefits of becoming lifelong learners in their careers. The present study suggests that the SES is a psychometrically sound measure that can be used to assess African American college students with disabilities' career self-efficacy, with the ultimate aim of improving their post-college career outcomes.
Thank you all for attending this webinar. If you have any questions or would like to research in this area, please feel free to contact one of us. I am Dr. Madan Kundu. So my email address is DAN_KUNDU @subr.edu. Dr. Jiarang Wu, J-WU11@neiu.edu. Dr. Randall Bowen, RANDALL_BOEN@subr.edu. And this presentation, the PowerPoint, and the script of this presentation will be available in Project E3 website. Project E3 means Educate, Empower, and Employ. And the website address is www.projecte3.edu. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Hello, everyone. My name is Beth Gertner. I work at the Stout Vocational Rehabilitation Institute, and I will be leading the Q&A portion of today's webinar. So we have both Dr. Kundu and Dr. Bowen here with us today to help answer your questions. And we do have a couple questions in the Q&A box already, as well as a couple from chat that I think we'll start with. But please feel free to put those questions into the Q&A box as we're going through these first couple here. All right, let's do the first from chat really quickly. Someone in chat had requested for the measures from the study to be shared. So I just wanted to see if it was possible for those to be shared potentially with the, maybe be posted with the video once it's put on the website.
Sure, no problem. You start my video and my video is closed.
Yes, sorry, Doc. I asked, oh, there we go. Now I can see you.
Yes, that is possible. That's not a problem because we want people to learn about it and apply to their situation. So that's an excellent question. Yes, you have full permission to use it. But whatever, if you do research, acknowledge that the source of it. That's it.
Sounds good. All right, we did have one other quick question from chat. I believe it was Phyllis who was asking, may we have the name of the assessment? I believe it was referenced on like slides 28 and 29. She said, I'm interested in using it in transitional classes for secondary and adult transition program students.
Perfect, no problem. We will assist with that. That is
all right, so we'll get that.
Email us and we will forward that to you.
All right, perfect. And your contact information is on the last slide of the PowerPoint. We shared those slides in the chat.
Good. Yes.
All right, so let's hop into the Q&A then. The first question comes from Allison. It says, what aspects of systemic racism might impact the self-reported career efficacy for Black students with disabilities? For example, do racist hairstyle policies impact students' confidence in their ability to present themselves, quote unquote, appropriately in the workplace? Or does systemic bias against AAVE affect a student's belief in their ability to talk about their skills and abilities in an interview?
Well, that's a very good question. Okay, I will give my perspective and then Dr. Bowen, he will do that too. Well, the main thing is that the systemic bias is there. But the question is how we can minimize those bias. What kind of strategy that we can play that will be helpful. If someone wants to go to and work, so you have to develop that work behavior and work attitude. They cannot have a sagging pen and have a headphone, going to work. That is not acceptable. It may be acceptable with the colleagues and friends, but when going to work, you have to have work behavior, work personality, and skills level that is necessary. If one can demonstrate that, I don't think there will be systematic bias. We have bias in everyday life with our own family members or relatives and etc. It is there. You cannot eliminate that. But the question is how we can live together, what is acceptable in society or in the family and workplace, that's what we have to pay attention to. And that is the work of the rehab counselor or special education or educational accommodation specialist to assess those situations before sending to work. Those are the part of the work, behavior. You cannot, one may have a skill, but the behavior is not appropriate, he will not be successful. So that's why you have to look at the secondary skills of the individual. What kind of behavior, manner, interaction they have. That tells whether the bias will be minimized or not. For example, why people fired from jobs? There are four main reasons. Is that they cannot get along with the co-workers. They cannot receive instruction from the supervisor, and the quality and quantity of work. So these are the four main reasons that people do not, I mean, they cannot maintain their job. But we said some of the work behavior, dress, manner, etiquette, those are important. One may have excellent skill, degree, and everything, but the behavior is awful, they're not going to survive in the workplace. Dr. Bowen, could you comment some more?
Yes, I would just add to that the idea of helping young people build confidence and learn those skills, including self-advocacy when it comes to workplace spaces, that if policies may exist within a workspace that are maybe behind the times or need to be reevaluated, it is, something that's to be said about self-advocacy and building up oneself of self-esteem in to have conversations of how can we navigate some of these difficult situations and improve vocational outcomes for young people.
All right. At this time, I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A box or in the chat. So I'll just do a couple of quick housekeeping reminders while we wait to see if anybody else has any questions they'd like to chime in with. First of all, I know that Terry mentioned this at the top of the broadcast, but for those who may have joined a little bit later, there will be CRC credit available for this webcast. However, the process for getting approval for that credit can take a little bit of time, so we do not yet have that. So we will, it'll just take a couple of weeks. And we did post a link to information about obtaining that CRC credit from our website, projecte3.com. So again, there will be credit available, it just won't be instantaneous. So we're sorry for the delay. It'll just take a little bit of extra time. So we appreciate your patience and understanding with that. Additionally, if you would like to access any of our previous content, any of our webinars that have been posted from previous weeks, like Terry said, again, they go back several years, and those also have CRC credit attached to them. And that would be more instantaneous since those have already been approved. So that you can go to our website, go to the webcast tab, it's projecte3.com, and there's a whole list of archived broadcasts. All right. Let me just, there's some things coming in chat. I just want to check and see. Additionally, there is some contact information on our website if you have further questions about certificates and CRCs. We don't have an exact time frame for when those will be ready. I'm not seeing any other questions. Dr. Kundu, Dr. Bowen, anything else you would like to add from today's presentation?
Well, I see one comment from Jacqueline Reed. She said that is supporting their self-efficacy, not insist that they conform to one-size-fits-all concept of work and career environments. I agree with you, but at the same time, I mean, we also need to educate the employer. What are the provisions for cultural diversity issue, how they can comply with it. That's also one part that we have to prepare our transitionist children or disabled individuals with disabilities. But at the same time, we have our responsibility that we have counselors or special education specialists or accommodation specialists to educate the employer environment too, that different types of disability require different kinds of accommodation. So if we can help with that, that'll be helpful.
And it looks like we have another question that came in from Jessica.
Okay.
Jessica asks, are there any additional resources for readiness and self-efficacy, specifically for individuals with visual impairments?
Yes, that's a very good question. Regarding visual impairment, in special education people, those who specialize in dealing with visual impairment, they can assist you. But definitely, suppose for visual impairment, they need different types of technology based on the level of visual impairment. So there are software available if they cannot read the screen, Dragon Dictate or some other software available that will speak to them. So depending on the situation, I cannot give you all the different accommodation available. It has to be based on the specific person, as person situation, level of visual acuity, and the job demand. Yes, they are available, and that could be. And in fact, you can contact with what is called in federal government, JAN, Job Accommodation Network. They have a lot of information in their website, and also they can contact them, because that comment is there, one size doesn't fit all. That is true. That's why you have to be specific about their situation, circumstances, work conditions, etc. All information is available. You have to search it from various resources.
All right. Anita asks in chat, are there any resources that you could recommend for situations with AA students who have more of a behavioral issue that is also incorporated into the other issues?
Well, this study and the previous study that we broadcast, we specifically focus on African American students with disabilities. So whatever recommendations we are making here, that are all applicable. The main thing is two things here, is that work environment, academic environment. What kind of accommodation is needed in academic environment? The counselor or special education specialist or whoever should be dealing with the Office of Disability Services at the community colleges or for institution of higher education. So they can help with that area. Similarly, in workplace accommodation, they have to deal with the employer. Each employer is different. So educating them about the people of diverse disability and the nature of work. So this is both way of learning. The employer doesn't know all of these needs for people with disabilities. So if we can accommodate them in by giving education and support, that will be helpful. Suppose rehab counselor role is to provide technical assistance to the employer. See, this is a very interesting question. It's a very good question, that employer needs qualified people. In order to hire a qualified person, employer has to advertise, receive application, process them, interview them, and select a person. And then the person goes to work. And then later on, they found that it doesn't fit. He's not suitable for the job. So he's fired, he's not there. But what happened in the meantime? The employer lost a lot of their time, energy, and resources. But we as a rehab counselor or special educators, if we can help the employer, we can take some of the responsibility ahead of time. For example, if we prepare the client with proper skills and competencies and secondary skills level before employing a person. So you have to develop that kind of relationship with the employer in the community. Then employer will look for a qualified people. If you provide a qualified person to his job, that person, the employer don't have to advertise. They don't have to interview and spend all this time, and they have a satisfied worker. So that is called demand side placement rather than supply side placement. Supply side placement, what do? We say we request, we depend on their emotion that please help someone who is disabled in your employment. But demand side employment is telling what? What is the need of the employer, the demand of the employer? If we can provide that demand and support, then employer will love you. If you get a good client or good employee for the job, without any trouble, had good skills and everything and doing perfect, so they don't have to worry about it. So if you can provide that kind of supply, that means qualified supply of labor, they will love you. They will call you for a next employment. So that's the kind of relationship that we need to build in the community. The state agency, vocational rehabilitation agency, or any other non-profit agency, community-based organization, that relationship makes a difference, that understanding. And also, of course, you have to provide qualified person to meet the needs of the employer. Then the employer will love you. And I have a lot of experience like this. They call me that I need so-and-so person. Do you have one? Okay. So you need to always has to provide qualified people to the employer needs. That's why we have to do a lot of work ahead of time, learning at the employment environment, employer demand. What are the need for the next 5 years and 10 years? How you can prepare your client for that. That's most important. That means you're helping the employer. Dr. Bowen, do you have any comments on this? Please.
Just real quickly, I want to also point it back to the initial question of working with a student who may have some behavioral issues. And Dr. Kundu, you mentioned this, the role of counseling and support for the students, both in the university and out of the university setting, would help address specific needs. I'm an advocate for the everyone has different needs that they present with, and those difficulties that they face currently may impact future vocational outcomes. So the extent to which we are thinking holistically of all these different elements, how best to meet the needs of students. One thing that I would like to kind of emphasize, I think from this presentation has taught me is, that within the academic setting, there's a real need to understand why so many students, African-American students with disabilities, don't complete or fail to complete their university degrees. And that has a real impact on their personal and financial future, as we discussed. So I think that's an area that I personally am really interested in going forward, looking at what are those factors within the university system that are conducive and also serve as barriers to students being able to complete their degrees.
Very good answer. And Dr. Data, one of our faculty, who was the principal investigator of the project, her doctoral dissertation is just specifically on that topic. Mm-hmm. What kind of accommodation is needed for students with disabilities in institution of higher education. In different system by system, we analyzed it, and it was published. We have the article, we can provide you that too. So, in one hand, what the university academic structure, it's difficult to handle it for people with visual impairment. That is true. All the bureaucracies. That's why we have Office of Disability Services in every university. So the Office of Disability Services provide all this accommodation needed in terms of taking extra time for examination, note taking, or whatever. Interpreters for the people with hard of hearing and deafness, visual impairment for reader and writers, all kinds of software, so that the reading machines or CCTV, all kinds of this accommodation needed, the Office of Disability Services should provide on that. And I think also we need to educate the students with disabilities how they can advocate for themselves. That is most important. So we should teach them advocacy skill. They should not be just by going by the rules, what they say and they listen. They should be their own advocate. Then they will find the resources. That's the major aspect of it, to making them self-advocate. So
Actually,
yes, yeah. Go ahead.
sorry. With that, no, well, first of all, Dr. Bowen, I know that you have to leave a few minutes early. So whenever you need to duck out for class, before you go, just want to say thank you for joining us. And question kind of follows off of what you were saying, Dr. Kundu. Kim asked if the additional resources that you've mentioned, there've been a couple, if those could be cited or provided in some way. Is it possible if there's any resources or links to things that you feel are really important, if maybe we could include those with the posting on our website?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. And I do know at one point you mentioned Accommodation Network, and I do have the link for that. I just posted it in chat. It's askjan.org.
Correct. That's
if anybody
good.
wants to check that out. It's a wonderful website.
I think Anita Jacoba, she's saying that my personal opinion is that you really have to look at the abilities of the personal support parents, what they know, don't know, have access to help. That is also true, that we need to educate their parents. To many cases that parents doesn't know what to do. So we need to reach out to them too, because they are the family support. If you can educate them, they will provide better support for their students with disability or the kids with disability, children with disability. Very good point, yes. The parents and significant others, grandparents, whoever, taking care of the person, we should educate them too. That should be a good point. Very good point, yes.
And we do have, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dr. Bowen.
Just real quick on that, I think that's a really good point. I think we, having experience in disability support services in the past, I think the focus primarily is on the student that we're working with, and not necessarily their support system outside of the university. But for many students who come seeking services, that support system is kind of the key element in understanding what will help assist the student get through the university experience. So thinking about our role as counselors, as providers, and thinking about the role of the family as it may be a support system network that can increase the positive outcomes for the clients that we see. So I just wanted to mention that real quick.
Sure. Yep. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple more questions that have come in. Phyllis asks, are there studies supporting the impact of rehabilitation counselors as employees of the secondary educational settings? I'm attempting to create that position in my large high school district and am looking for support to validate my assumed deposit.
Say it again, I could not understand the question.
Oh, sorry. Are there studies supporting the impact of rehabilitation counselors as employees of secondary educational settings? She's attempting to create that position in her district.
Well, I mean, this has been in northern states, they always have rehab counselor in a school system stationed at the high school. So when that means when they're 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, as students with disabilities, so because I worked in Michigan, for example, in 1970s, we had a rehab counselor stationed at the school, high school. Because what happened in the high school might be 1,000 students or more, and only one guidance counselor, and they don't know how to deal with the students with disabilities. So that's why the Michigan Vocational Rehabilitation and other states, they have the practice of having a rehab counselor in the school system right there. Before even the transition concept came into the picture about WIWA, but I'm talking about in the 70s and 80s. They have rehab counselor placed there. So they work with the school system, special education department together so that their transition will be smoother after they graduate from high school, whether they need to go to work or they want to go to post-secondary institutions. So we are talking about WIWA just recently, but I'm talking about this practice has been there in many of the northern states much, much earlier. And that is helpful. That's very helpful. Good point. Yeah.
And Phyllis's original question was wondering if there's any studies supporting that benefit of having that rehab counselor in-house.
Okay, I have to find it. I'm sure there is some study, definitely. I have to find it out.
Real quick, I have to jump off here to teach my class. I'd like to thank everyone for attending and participating today. I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah,
Bowen.
thank you, Dr. Bowen.
Thank you.
And it looks like we just have one more question, and we're getting pretty close to 12:30 here. So timing-wise, that should work well. The last question that I have for you, Dr. Kundu, is what is the impact of adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, of AA students with disabilities, and how can educators account for that in their lessons?
Please repeat that. There's some sound is not clear. Say it again.
Yes, sorry, I don't always have the best internet connection. What is the impact of adverse childhood experiences of AA students with disabilities, and how can educators account for that in their lessons?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Because this particular project, that cooperative learning and individual mentoring, that's what we dealt with, that we went to the school system, high school students with disabilities, we find that, yeah, they have a lot of adverse situation in their life. They're from broken home, and the mother may be working 2 or 3 different jobs. They don't have any idea what is career, job, but they want to have a big house, big car. These are their dreams, you know. But the question is, that's where we need more guidance and counseling to make them understand what is reality. In order to have a big house, big car, whatever, you know, you have to educate yourself. And then guidance is necessary. As we worked with these students, that is the part of this. I mean, what we are presenting is part of the same thing. So the main thing is the exposure and education. So out of this project, we took these students to field visits in NASA, National Air and Space Administration, Houston, in a bus for 3-4 days of outing, exposing them what is the world looks like. NASA has A to Z types of job. I mean, from janitor to statistician, technologist, you know, and then astronaut, all kinds of job. And they train them, whatever the job they want to do. So that was an open, good learning experience for them. And also we take it to the Houston Medical Center. There's so many jobs. Suppose they could be physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, or could be attendant for this PT and OT and etc. There are many, many jobs. They never knew all this stuff because they have never been exposed. They are born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and that's it. They've never been exposed to outside world at all. So when we take them to there, and then all the people speak on these issues and see and observe, and they do some service work there, and then see the broadness of the employability in the future. That gives a clue that what they can do. So that kinds of exposure is necessary. That is, I mean, this social cognitive career theory, what it's talking about is that how course objectives, whatever we should do, it should relate to the real world application. I know often appears that we are just memorizing the theory or whatever concept and just passing the grade. But that's where our job is to also design the courses such a way that leads to the real world experience. You know. Often the academic institution is not tied to that. And that's what should be the case. Because the world of work is changing, demand of skill is changing, and we are teaching in the university 10, 15 years old concept, unless we update this, we are not preparing from the world of work. So, and also summer work experience, visit to industry. That gives an idea. Whatever the local industry they have, the university or wherever in the school or guidance counselor make some provision to take them to the field visit to show them the type of jobs available in the community. And that will expose them, they can think about what they want to do. And then summer internship or summer paid work, those are helpful. That gives a real life experience.
Mhm.
So we have to think creatively how to expose them. We have to change our mode of operation and mode of teaching and learning. Everything needs to be changed. Bookish knowledge is not going to help to survive in the 21st century. You have to have a real life experience, the world of work experience that is needed. Because the world of work is moving so fast with computerization, mechanization, urbanization, and information highway. Our students with disabilities are not in that space. The pace is faster than what's going on. So we're always behind. So that's why educator, researcher, professor, GF counselor, special education specialist, whatever, we think creatively how we can keep pace with the moving society.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kundu. And also thank you again to Dr. Bowen, who was able to join us earlier, and Dr. Wu, who was unable to join for Q&A, but was part of the presentation. I'd like to thank all of our attendees for taking part today, for chiming in on chat or in Q&A. We really appreciate you joining us and participating. It's been a great webcast. And again,
Thank you for all. Thank you for attending, for your patience.
Thanks everybody. Yep, Beth briefly lost her connection. As we all know, that can happen. I will leave the site open for a few minutes in case you want to use this as an opportunity to download some of the materials that we have with the links, and I'll post it again as it moves out of chat. So with that, thanks everybody. And if you attended today, and for future webinars, you will receive notice about that. So thanks again for your attendance, and thanks again for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks, Beth, Terry, and Heidi, for all of your hard work. And I know Jennifer or whoever, so many people behind the scene working hard. So thank you very much for your all.
Maybe while we're still on, Madan, if you could send us, maybe send, use whatever email you'd like. Send us the surveys and other materials that, noted. We'll send you a note too, but I remember somebody talked about a survey or an instrument from slide 28, 29.
Sure.
Possibly the CSES survey, if that's
yes, no
in
problem.
public domain. And then you talked about about Allo's article, I think, from her dissertation.
Oh, yes, definitely, yes.
A site for that would be great.
Yep.
So, great. Thanks very much.
Sure, I'll do that. Please list all this and email me, and
I will. Yeah, I know. I'm the same. It's better to see it and I can check off. Yep, got that done. So again, thanks very much.
Sure.